In a year with 100 days videos absolutely exploding in popularity, you'd think that nearly every idea and scenario has been played through and explored. But what if I told you that my friends Haven, Kerp, and I completed 100 days in a scenario that has never been touched before? Welcome to 100 Days World Swap, where Haven, Kerp, and I are all inhabitants of our own unique worlds, with Haven playing on a default Minecraft world, Kerp playing on an amplified Minecraft world, and me, I'm playing on a super flat Minecraft world. The twist? Every 10 days, we swap worlds with each other. After I spend my first 10 days on my super flat world, I'll be heading over to Haven's default world. And after 10 days in that world, I'll be heading over to Kerp's amplified world to do another 10 days there. It won't be until day 31 that I'll be returning back to my home world. With free roam of each other's worlds, what kinds of hijinks and adventures are going to ensue? With that, you'll just have to watch the video and find out. And right before we do head into that video, I want to remind you guys that a solid 80% of you aren't currently subscribed at the moment. So if you could go ahead and leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, that'd be very much appreciated. Also, don't forget that both Haven and Kerp have already uploaded their perspectives of their journeys throughout their worlds. Do please go and check out their respective videos and have a great time with it. And without further ado, it's time to get into our 100 Days World Swap adventure. On day 1 in our super flat world, I immediately started looking for the resources that were going to be most valuable in this vast open world. The first of which being food. Die, cow! After beating a few animals to death with my bare fists, I noticed a village in the far distance. I ran over to it, punched down a tree, made some wooden tools, and dug down for some... Oh, that's right. We're in super flat. I can't mine for cobblestone. New plan. Let's steal some cobblestone from the church to make some better tools with. After making my tools, I began looking around the village and stole whatever I could possibly get my hands on. I met the residents of the village and even encountered the friendly neighborhood iron golem, Rocky. Eventually, in one of the homes, I found a leather tunic to wear. My first piece of armor. And when I was checking out another home that had some hay bales in it, I noticed something in the far distance. Oh no. My friend. The perfect happy-go-lucky Rocky was slain by the evil slimes. I had to get my revenge for him. On the next day, I decided to explore more villages as I now had nothing left to keep me at this village. That, and the village kind of sucked because there was no blacksmith. In the first village I found, there was the much needed blacksmith that granted me almost a full set of iron armor. And after spending most of that day cooking the small amount of food that I had gathered up until now, I realized that one of the only few ways to get iron in this world was to kill iron golems for it. And so I said goodbye to my past precedents and experiences with Rocky, and decided to kill the Rocky of this village, which I had named Rocky II. I am so sorry, my handsome boy. Your death will not be in vain. I spent most of day 3 settling down at the latest village that I'd found, one that had actually contained 2 blacksmiths, and set out to create a small farm. Not only that, but I also decided to start replanting the trees of the world that I'd obtained from the previous villages. With the world so empty and bare, I wanted to do it a favor by replenishing its natural resources. Boy, I hope nobody chops down these trees and decides to not replant them. I also found a saddle in one of the villages, so I decided to tame this horse. Don't get too attached, he's not really important to our story. On day 4, I used all the skyblock skills I had gained from my 1-hour skyblock session I had many years ago to create myself a cobblestone generator and started grinding some cobble. Oh, also I did more tree stuff and worked on the farms again. On day 8, I took a break from all this grinding to build my first structure of the series. The green top made out of slime. I don't exactly know why I built it. I just kind of felt like it was the right thing to do. Eventually, my time ran out in my world, and on day 10, I decided to leave a message to my fellow dimensional travelers who would be joining my world on their adventures. The message goes as such. Hello, fellow dimensional travelers. How do you fare? This is Jared Marvin Vulkarr at youtube.com. Before I leave to travel to your worlds, I want to leave you a few messages and tasks to accomplish. If you would please search for the following items, it would be very much appreciated. Signed, Marvin. Hopefully this message goes out and they get the iron, diamonds, obsidian, and lapis needed, as well as setting up animal farms as well if they could. And with that, my 10 days on the server were over. Time for me to go to sleep. I awoke on day 11 in a new world. That of Haven's default world. It seems as though he has gotten a good amount of resources and even made one of his signature, terribly built homes. Like, come on, man. You gotta be somewhat better at building than this. Like, everything you build is just so bad. Come on, man. This one, however, was apparently named Brock's house. Not entirely sure why. Might be something in his own video that he explains. I noticed that Haven had also set up an enchantment table and decided to use it on my tools. And after running out of the 6 lapis that he had, I believe it was 6, it was some small amount of lapis. He didn't have much. I guess he's just a bad miner. Doesn't matter. After I started running out of that lapis, I decided to head underground to gather more resources and levels to enchant my armor as well. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like mining is just very therapeutic for me. And before I knew it, I had gotten the lapis that I needed and was even able to find 10 diamonds as well. However, I did run into an issue while I was down in these caves. I had thought that I had gotten the coordinates for Haven's home while I was up there, but apparently I kind of forgot to get them. So I was now stuck down here with no idea of where home was. So instead of going through the hassle of trying to find Haven's terrible home, I instead just decided to create another enchantment table down in the caves, made myself some diamond pants, and eventually when I resurfaced after fully enchanting myself, I decided to find a new home to live in for the series. When I came up from those caves on day 15, I actually found myself somewhat close to a village, so being the kind of smart Minecraft player I am, I decided to set up camp nearby. And after completing a small starter home, I decided to start making a farm area. On day 16, I decided to start a villager farm by digging out a rectangular hole in the ground and carting villagers over by boat. Come on, get in! No! That's not for you, Mr. Sheep! After this, on day 17, I decided to do another small caving session. This time, however, I just wanted to get obsidian, as my main goal was to go to the nether. You see, I thought it would be hilarious if I tried to do as many large-scale tasks as I could in others' worlds, seeing as I can't really do much in my own world. That means that my main goal in everybody's nether is to find Pigstep, and I also wanted to go to the end and defeat everybody's ender dragon. On day 18, I would enter Haven's nether, and surprisingly, on day 19, I'd find a bastion, and I even got Pigstep on the first chest that I'd opened. I'm just having so much good luck at the moment. I don't know how. Man, I swear, Haven's gonna be so pissed when I tell him how easy this was. After that, I pretty much used my last day to grind as many levels as I possibly could before having to leave on day 20. I did, however, leave some parting words for Kerp, who would be the next player coming to this world, and then finally said goodbye to this world for now. On day 21, I woke to find myself in Kerp's very laggy amplified world. And when I say laggy, I mean laggy. Everything I tried to do was delayed by at least a second or so. So getting work done in this world was nigh impossible. I started out by getting familiarized with my surroundings of what had been done before I arrived. Apparently, Kurt built his home as a sort of fish shop. I'm not entirely sure what he was thinking, but at least the design looks pretty cool. I then tried to be nice and contribute to this world by building an underground cellar for storage. But as you can see, that went downhill pretty quickly, as the lag was just so bad. And I sort of caused a leak in the ceiling of the cellar, so I eventually just gave up and went to work on other things. Also, apparently I missed this on my first run around, but Haven actually decided to write his name in the sand that he was here, as if it wasn't obvious beforehand that he was already here. On day 24, after a few days of lagging around, I decided to try and see if I could go to the nether. It took a while, and I mean a while, to actually get through the portal. And when I did, I found myself in the void? Oh, never mind, we're fine now. After having everything load in the nether, I decided to look around and see if I could find a fortress without dying due to severe lag complications. And to my surprise, I actually found one pretty easily. I did find a blaze spawner in the fortress and attempted to get some blaze rods, but after it took a solid minute and multiple hits to kill just a singular blaze, I decided it was best to wait until Kerp's server wasn't dying to continue our nether adventures. I then worked on getting back to the overworld and got home on day 27. And with my last few days on Kerp's world, I decided to try and start making a farm, but eventually it just got to the point where I couldn't do anything, and then I resorted to just chilling on the server until my days were over, but not before having the few animals that resided in this world breed, so that when Kerp could finally return to his world, he wouldn't be starving like I was. Day 31, and I'm back in my super flat world. Nothing looked too different at first, but then I noticed that I was not only enchanted, but there was also a new home being built in the village that had 2 villagers in it, and the farm had also grown extensively since the last time I'd been there. Especially the animals. Oh my god, there's so many animals in that pen. After exploring the village and taking in all the changes, I then decided that I should try to go into the nether myself, but after getting interrupted by some bad weather and a number of mobs that seemed to not want me to go into the nether, or to just leave this world alive, like these guys really wanted me dead. And because of that, I had to sleep through the rain, and on day 32, I finally started making that nether portal. However, I did pretty much immediately run into an issue. You see, to actually light a nether portal, I'm sure you all know, we need either a flint and steel or a fire charge. However, in a super flat world, it's pretty much impossible to get those in the overworld. The super ingenious idea that I had, however, was to actually set aflame some wood by burning it with lava. I'd somewhat done this before in an unreleased video, but now is the time that unused knowledge came into use. It would take forever. Almost a whole 2 days of waiting with varying different methods of setting ablaze a piece of wood. But eventually, while I was beating off an entire legion of slimes, the nether portal caught flame. I entered the nether on day 34 with the intention of gathering as much quartz and gold as possible, and if I found a fortress, I'd search for blaze rods and netherwort, seeing as my previous attempts to do so was foiled by lag. I would eventually find a fortress near the end of day 35, and on day 36, I found one of my 2 goals, a blaze spawner. This time, seeing as I was in a world that wasn't suffering due to horrible lag issues, I was actually able to obtain the blaze rods needed for potions if I was ever wanting to make those. Spoiler alert, however, I wasn't actually able to do that, as glass was pretty much impossible to get in a super flat world. Eventually, I realized that I was never going to be able to get the netherwort, and while on my way back to the portal from the fortress, I ran into a ruined portal. So I decided to check it out, as any Minecraft player would. And what did I find in that chest, you ask? Flint. I got flint. The one thing that would have saved me so much time earlier. Oh my god. There was also, like, a golden pickaxe with Fortune 3. That was pretty good as well. I also tried getting that gold block at the top of the portal, but fuck, man. I got back to my portal on day 38 and decided to do a bit of farm work before attempting to make a level 30 enchant table. However, I started to run out of time and ended up only getting halfway through the enchant table before needing to leave a message for my fellow dimensional travelers. This time, the message goes, "My life is an absolute mess at the moment. Please finish this level 30 enchant table and get more diamond and iron, etc. Please and thank you, Heart." On my second go around of Haven's world, I noticed that I was considerably more geared than I had last left him. This time, I was full diamond and had an extensive amount of levels to play with. And with those levels, I quickly decided to enchant a new diamond pickaxe and bow, getting both Fortune 3 on the pickaxe and getting, honestly, a pretty dull Power 3 on the bow. I then proceeded to work on the farms in this world, as from what I had gathered, neither Kerp nor Haven had actually even touched the farms. Other than the fact that there was now a hole filled with cows, the wheat farm looked unchanged from the last time I'd seen it. The only difference that I noticed in this world was the house that Kerp seemed to have been building. Believe me, there was no way that Haven was building this house. It was looking way too good for his building quality. Okay, time to stop being rude to Mr. Havenhand. I was already rude enough by stealing his satisfaction of obtaining pig stepper for him, so to make it up to him, I decided to try mining for enough iron to build max beacons for him whenever he decides to fight the Wither. Unless Unless we want to take that satisfaction from him as well. Or maybe Kerp will do it. I don't know. All I know is that I'm going mining for the next few days. I returned from the caves on day 48 with a hefty amount of iron and decided to try and take a hand at creating an auto cooker for all this iron. While going through the chests to get the needed materials to make a blast furnace and hoppers, I noticed that book and quill had been left in one of the chests. I took it out of the chests by just pure curiosity and realized that Haven had actually left a message for me in it. Haven Noters. What happened to his house? Oh yeah, I lost that house. Got 20 blaze rods and wart. Loot 3 sword and silk pickaxe? I don't remember seeing a silk pickaxe. Is Haven losing his mind? Level 30 enchanter setup? Okay, yeah, I saw that. Lots of quartz if I needed it? Why would I need quartz? Well, I guess I was supposed to see that before I went on my long mining adventure. Time to leave Haven a note myself. Marvin notes. Got lots of the iron hose. Just kidding. Just a lot of iron. Good progress on Max Beacon. Work on Wither next blocks. Chris has Bussy. Alright, with that message having been written out, let's get back to me failing at making an auto cooker. I hadn't done one of these in forever, and the fact that I had failed so many times was honestly really embarrassing. I wanted to cut it out, but it was also just very funny at the same time, so I felt like I needed to mention it. Enough with my fails, however. Day 50 is now over, and it's time for me to head to Kerp's world. With day 51 now here, I was back in Kerp's not laggy world? To my surprise, Kerp's world wasn't lagging anymore. I decided to take advantage of this and try to get as many things done as I possibly could in these 10 days. But not before running around the village in search of a food source, as I was a hungry boy when I first spawned in. After eating enough food to feed a small village, I noticed that there were ender pearls and blaze rods in my inventory. Do you know what that means? Oh yeah. That means I'm going to be stealing Kerp's Ender Dragon battle. No dragon fights for you, my boy. Haha, fuck off, bitches. After creating a few golden apples just to be on the safe side, I ran off to find the stronghold on day 52. Finding the end portal didn't take too long, and before I knew it, I was in the end fighting the Ender Dragon. The fight was pretty tame for the most part, other than this one little hiccup where I got knocked up by the dragon. After that, I was determined to absolutely demolish this dragon, getting it in a bow lock and hitting 6 consecutive shots before landing my final shot on the dragon. I then took the dragon egg back to the overworld to goof off for the rest of the days. While goofing off, I decided to build a sand castle for the short kings of the world. I also sort of filled a place with signs advertising my Twitch channel. After the short king sand castle was done, I spent the last few days in the world fishing to my heart's content. When I awoke on day 61, there were 2 things that were very apparent to me. The first of which was that I was in the Nether. The second being that the reason I was in the Nether was because Haven had been here looking for a Pigstep, of which it seemed like he had collected sometime before his days were over. After getting back to the overworld and dealing with the number of mobs that were awaiting my arrival, I took a look at the new building that had been created in the village. A villager farm. This looks a lot better than the one I built on Haven's world. I bet Kerp built this. The only gripe I had with the building was that there were no doors, which honestly I just quickly fixed myself. I then took a bit of a further look around the village and realized that I had enough diamonds to make myself a diamond chest plate, which I ended up making. With it now being in the latter half of my days in this series, I decided to start thinking of an overarching goal to accomplish in my world. Of course, we had the goal to replant as many trees as possible, but I wanted something bigger. Something better. I wouldn't be able to go to the end in this world, so instead I decided that my end goal should be a battle against 3 withers. And so to work on that, I decided to convert one of the villagers in the villager farm to be a librarian. But in my efforts to do so, I accidentally let him free. Only took me a few moments though to catch him and start manipulating him to get a looting 3 book, or at least, the first part only took me a few moments. It took me a solid 10 minutes to get him to want me to sell me a looting 3 book. After getting that trade, I went to go trade sticks to Fletches for the emeralds needed for the actual looting trade, only to get blown up by a creeper that was let in when the villager escaped earlier that day. I ended up scrambling to get all the villagers back in their homes, and when I finally returned to the looting villager, They had lost their trade. Dude, why is this so hard? I just want looting! After another 10 days of villager manipulating, I finally got the trade and got my looting 3 sword. I also decided to give myself some free advertisement while adding looting to my current sword. On day 64, I went into the nether to start grinding for skulls, and sadly, my luck caught up to me, as I was now having the worst luck in my life, as I ended up grinding withers for forever, and I only ended up getting 3 skulls. Eventually, I ran out of time and I had to leave a message for Haven, and then that was it for that world. This was going to be the last time I explored Haven's world, so I made sure to read his notes this time to make sure that if he left me any tasks to do, that I actually complete them for him. This time, his message was short and sweet. Stable has horse. Got 3 skulls and 12 pearls. That was it. That was quite literally it. And after reading that, I had one clear goal after this message. This was my chance to defeat Haven's Ender Dragon. This time, however, I wanted to do it a bit differently. I began by heading off to find the stronghold with Haven's horse. Eventually I'd find its location, and I'd leave the horse blocked up on the surface while I went down and investigated. The portal room ended up being quite literally 10 blocks from where I dug into, so finding it took quite literally no time at all. I quite literally got down there, portal room was right next to me. I was actually very much surprised. I then started placing down the ender eyes to light the portal, and shit, I needed another eye. Hold on a moment. Ah, there we go. After lighting the portal, I decided it was best to leave the end battle for a later moment, and to instead go back home and get a bit more geared up for the fight. And so I did just that. I went back up and ran all the way back home. Wait a second. Ran? Shit. I forgot Haven's horse back at the stronghold. Oh well. I'll just get him next time I go to the stronghold. Now, you might be wondering, why did I go back to the base after finding the stronghold and lighting the end portal? Well, after dealing with the Ender Dragon on KerP's world in a very measly set of iron armor, I wanted to do the complete opposite this time. I wanted to take on the dragon this time in a full set of level 30 enchanted diamond armor. Lucky enough, there was also a mending villager in the villager farm that we had started so long ago, so I also decided to add a mending to the armor. And after getting a full set of armor, on day 78, I headed back out to the stronghold to fight the dragon. With myself being as overgeared as I was, taking down the dragon for a second time was a very simple task that only took a handful of minutes. After returning to the village with the dragon egg, I decided to make a golden shrine for that egg. Wait a second. I forgot the freaking horse again, damn it! In my final moments of Haven's world, I left one last message to the future travelers who'd go to this world. Kill the dragon. Dragon what? Dragon these nuts across your face! Ha! Twitch.tv/Vulkarr. Go do stuff, I guess, like kill Wither. Also, forgot Mr. Horse at end of portal, smiley face. Have fun finding him. Day 81. The start of my final 10 days in KerP's world. I found myself awake in a fortress with a looting 3 sword and 8 wither skulls. I could only assume that he had the same end goal as me of fighting 3 withers. I decided to complete that task, and surprisingly, unlike in my world, it took no time at all to gather that last wither skull needed to complete his set of 9. Now all I needed to do was get back to the overworld. But where exactly was I? The fortress seemed unfamiliar, so I could only assume that KerP had traveled to a different fortress than the one I had explored earlier. While on my way back to the portal, I actually ended up running into another bastion. This time though, the inhabitants seemed very unhappy that I was trying to intrude on their property, and I almost ended up dying trying to escape them. Eventually, I was able to sneak around enough to get inside the walls and search to see if it had pig step. The bastion didn't exactly look like it had been looted, so I could only hope and pray that we could find something good from it. And at first, while it looked like I had no luck at all, on the 3rd chest that I opened, I was able to find pig step. I can now officially say that I have obtained pig step on both Haven and KerP's worlds, and that I had also killed both of their ender dragons. Not bad for someone who came from a super flat world filled with slime. I'd arrived back at KerP's village on day 84, and I immediately noticed a few changes. The first of which was that he called my Short King sandcastle Vulkarr's Mob Emporium, which I sadly had to agree with, as when I entered, there were 2 zombies just chilling in there. The second of which was Gray's man cave, which seemed pretty cool, but I was honestly just confused about why it was there. After taking a look at everything and accidentally freeing a fox that had been in an animal pen for multiple days straight, I decided to add one final structure to the village: a lighthouse. However, while gathering materials for the lighthouse, a few pillagers showed up outside the village and attacked me. After killing them and gaining the bad omen effect, I decided to say screw it and start a raid. And my god, genuinely my god, I kinda wish I hadn't. This was only the second time I've conducted a raid in Minecraft, the first of which being with the others in our squad's world. So I had no idea what I was getting into as a solo player in this raid. At first it was fine, but eventually I had to retreat midway through the raid to actually craft some golden apples. If I didn't do that, I probably would have ended up dying because of how difficult the raid was for someone who was only in an iron enchanted armor. However, after a full night of fighting pillager upon pillager, I was finally able to complete the raid and continue building my shitty lighthouse. The lighthouse was finished on day 90, and I said goodbye to Kerp's world for the last time. Day 91. The final days of our 100 days world swapping adventure has led us to this. I entered the cobblestone generator room of the base and noticed the 9 wither skulls laid out in a penis pattern. Nice. I exited the house to find a large statue of a wolf with a sign saying, "In honor of the pack that never was." Heart. I can honestly only imagine what that refers to, seeing as in all the worlds I've been to, I haven't seen a single tamed wolf. Not only that, but it also appears as though Haven has rebranded my diamond sword as an advertisement for his own channel instead of mine. I can't believe the motherfucker would do that. As if he'd need it, seeing as most of my viewers came from his channel anyways. But alas, we'll move on from that topic for the moment. That topic. The topic! With this large wolf statue obstructing the areas my beautiful trees were supposed to be growing in this world, there was just one thing I could think to do at that moment. I was going to do the same thing that I've done to every single one of Haven's wolves in the manhunts he's invited me to. The pack shall no longer be a part of this series, even in statue form. After burning down the statue, I set out to replant as many trees as possible before I had to leave this world, so that the Lorax will thank me for my contribution to this world's health. Thank you, Lorax. Praise Lorax. And when I had planted every single sapling I had gathered until now, I made one last trip into the Nether to gather gold one last time before heading out to a secluded village to take on the 3 withers. When I say this was the most stressful encounter I've had in Minecraft, I legitimately believe that. At least in the sense that this was the most stressful encounter I've had with mobs in Minecraft. You see, there's been more stressful situations with people. I mean, you can only go through so many manhunts with Haven before losing your mind. But for the purpose of fighting bosses in Minecraft, this was the tippity top of the mountain for difficulty. I ended up wasting so many golden apples trying to take on that first wither, and by the time that I had defeated the second one, I was just barely clinging to life. With the first 2 withers gone, there was just one more wither to go, and I swear I was so close to losing it, but in the final moments, I defeated it. I had defeated all 3 withers, and we had accomplished our final major goal for our 100 days. Now all I had was one last task to do, the magnum opus of our 100 days. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. This was probably the most time-consuming video I've ever made up until now, but it was honestly so worth it. I appreciate every single one of you guys so much. Don't forget to take a look at both Haven and Kerp's perspectives of their journeys throughout these worlds, and don't forget to leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe if you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.